Welcome to the Hank Cisco Show. Don't touch that dial. Hey, it's St. Patrick's Day, and I have a special guest here to talk about St. Patrick. I mean, the real St. Patrick. We're talking about the celebration of St. Patrick's Day. And so, my hat's off to the Irish today, okay? And my guest today is Monsignor Harry Degnan.
Thank you.
Born and raised in Norristown, right on Chestnut Street, 1 block away from where I lived. I lived at 29 East Chestnut. He lived, I think, 146, was it? What?
216.
216. Well, I was off a block or so, right? But we were neighbors, about a block.
Right.
St. Patrick's Church separated us. I was on Chestnut Street.
We were below DeKalb.
Right, west of St. Patrick's, and you were right across from St. Patrick's, right across from the school. And so, how long you been a priest?
I've been a priest, well, in May I will have been ordained 62 years.
In May?
Yeah.
Oh, we had to have a little celebration in Norristown. Let the people in Norristown know what we have. 62 years.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Okay.
There were 33 of us ordained in 1948. There are 8 of us living.
8?
3 are active. They live in parishes. There are 5 in the villa. They're some form of disability.
Well, you help out at St. Paul's Church, right?
Yes.
And the pastor there is...
Father Harry McCready.
Right. Is his name Harry, too?
Yes.
Oh, how about that? This Harry.
Yes.
How about that?
In fact, he was my assistant when I was pastor in Aston.
Oh, yeah.
And he was appointed pastor when I had to retire.
Oh, okay.
And I had a Siberian Husky. And Siberian Huskies aren't welcome in many rectories in Philadelphia. So he said, you come along with me. That'll be fine. We'll take care of you and the dog. So,
oh, God.
and he's been very good to me since. You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's great. I always talk about St. Patrick's Day is on the 17th, and St. Joseph is on the 19th.
19th.
2 great saints, you know,
Right.
in 1 week, you know. And down in New Orleans, I have a friend down there, the judge, and they have a celebration. They celebrate St. Joseph and St. Patrick's, have a joint parade,
Okay.
you know, rather than have it single, you know. And that's great that people remember, you know.
Right.
So tell me something about growing up in Norristown, okay?
Well, I thank the Lord that I was privileged to grow up in Norristown. I went to a school that was really exceptional. I graduated from St. Patrick's in 1937, and in my class was Joe Doherty, who was a cop.
Oh, yeah, Joe Doherty.
And
Was he in your class?
Yes.
Policeman with him, yeah.
Yes,
right,
he might
right.
take care of traffic at Marshall
Right.
and DeKalb.
And they were with...
And Doc Cahill, do you know?
Yeah, Cahill, the beer
family?
distributor too, right?
Right. And Tommy was the great coach of football.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
right. How about the Hill? Carol Hill used to sing.
Oh, yeah.
He used
He
to
lived
sing.
on Oak Street.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
And
Freddie
Ca-
Hill was the sheriff.
yeah.
That was his brother.
Oh, yeah, right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, Freddie Hill. But growing up in Norristown I remember I lived 29 East Chestnut, and you lived 200 blocks. So
Right.
and that was the chief of police
He lived across the street from me.
across the street from you.
Bob Riley.
Right, Chief Riley.
Yeah.
And then I lived on Chestnut Street between Swede and DeKalb.
Right.
And there was 5 police officers lived in 1 block. Now, very few policemen live in Norristown. They all live in the suburbs.
Well-
But I had Bernie Mahalan,
Okay.
Captain Butler, Carl Thumb,
Right.
the Furlong,
Right.
and the other, he was a contractor, related to a contractor, but there was 5 police officers in 1 block, and the warden, Heller, he lived on the same block. The fire chief, Hampton, he lived on Norris Firehouse. So it's all right in one area there, you know.
Right.
And very few people had cars. We used to play in the street, baseball, and when a car would come by, we'd give them all dirty looks, you know.
Yeah, well, Bob Riley loved baseball. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he, when during the gas rationing, he'd love to see the athletics were in town then.
Right, right, yeah.
And he would call over to my uncle and me if we wanted to go to the baseball game.
Right.
And he put us in the back of the car
Right.
and swear out a warrant for us because of the state police stopped us. That we were his subjects. You know? Because you can only go 20 miles at that time on gas racing.
Right.
So, but he was very good.
Yeah, he was my chief of police, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And he used to go to Mass every morning, St. Francis, every morning. I don't know, it was a 6 o'clock Mass or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then they'd pick him up, and he would travel around the town with the patrol, and then he would go in the office, you know. But that's a whole different ballgame. Now, on St. Patrick's, as a young fella growing up, what are some of the things that they did like at St. Patrick's Church? Where I know the undertaker, funeral director Fleming.
Yeah.
I remember him.
Francis Fleming.
Yeah, Francis Fleming.
Yeah.
And he was a great contributor to the church, and he used to have Christmas parties and all.
Uh-huh.
But what were some of the things you remember?
Well, we had the processions that we had. We'd go all around the block, walk down to Green Street and up Green to Oak.
St. Patrick's procession.
Especially in May, we would have
Uh-huh.
for our Blessed Mother, but there was plenty of activity.
Uh-huh.
The church provided many things for us to do, many outlets for us to do, and I'm grateful that I went to school with some very notable fellows. Like, do you remember Sammy Barano?
Yes, right.
Well, Sammy Barano graduated from St. Patrick's, then went to Norristown and won a scholarship to Villanova and got a degree in electrical engineering.
Oh,
And he was one of the group that set off the Atlas missile,
how about that?
which is our first venture into space by the
Right.
United States.
And here's a local guy, right?
And he designed the radar systems for the military and had entree to Air Force One.
How about that?
And he's just a little guy from Penn Street.
Right,
you
from
know?
Penn Street.
Yeah.
You know, Harry Truman used to say, "What's new? The history we haven't read." So we want to talk about history. Now, you, St. Charles Seminary, you were 36 priests that you entered, right?
30,
say
yeah.
eight are still available
Yes.
around. And you help out at the church. Now
I
you're
do.
retired.
Yes.
And you assist in some, like funerals and weddings and stuff?
Confessions, yes.
Confessions.
I was more active than I was until I got this handicap situation.
Yeah.
You know, but
Well, you got a little push cart that keeps
Yeah,
you going.
sure.
I had one when I had 2 hip replacements, so
Okay.
I know what it is. So, all right, now, let's talk about St. Patrick's, okay? Everybody talks about St. Patrick's, you know, we're going to go out, we're going to have a party, but let's talk about St. Patrick's, who he was, and, you know, and what he did and why he inspired so many people. So what can we say about St. Patrick?
Well, there's not much history written about him. We know that he was born in Great Britain around 385, which is way back in history, and he died around 460 or so. And he was kidnapped. He became a slave to some people, and now here it gets misty because we don't know what happened, but the next thing we know was that he was a priest.
Uh-huh.
And then became a bishop. And in those days, the way of nominating a bishop were different. They were nominated by the people.
Are they nominated? Oh,
Yes.
Democrats way back.
And
Democratic system, I mean.
yeah, they would shout, "We want Patrick as bishop," things like that. You know? It was very simple. Today, it's more complicated. But the greatest missionary in the history of Christianity is St. Paul. And he was legendary in the things that he did. First of all, he was a devout Pharisee. And then he persecuted the new way, which was the gospel of Christ.
Uh-huh.
And on his way to persecute Christians in Damascus, he was stricken down by the Lord. And he said, Paul, he was Saul then, Saul, why do you persecute me? And he said, who are you? And he said, I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. And he assigned him to take care of all those at that time who were not Jews, the Gentiles. And this he did. He took care of everything around the Aegean, the Mediterranean Sea, all those people. And second to St. Paul is St. Patrick, they tell us, as the greatest missionary. So,
He's the missionary, right?
right. And you talk about the shamrock, the greatest mystery that encounters the mind of man.
Yeah, the shamrock. Here's the shamrock over here. Now, tell me something about the shamrock.
Well, the greatest mystery that encounters the mind of man is the existence of God, one God in three divine persons.
One God, three divine persons.
The human mind could never of itself come to that conclusion. It had to be revealed to us. And Patrick must have had a lot of teaching ability, because he simplified it, teaching the people about the Trinity by taking a shamrock and holding it up. It has three leaves and one stem. One God, three persons.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a symbol that I just had this sign made especially for you, Monsignor. I went over to Signorama there in Logan Square, and I said I need a sign right away. I said I got a big celebrity on my show, and he said, well, wait a minute, I'll run right out. So he made this up. I think the paint is still wet, but and then I have a little book here. I did a little research, and it's called A Book About 1,000 Things, and they go to the library. But it's all about different legends or,
Yeah.
And it says here about the shamrock. The shamrock will not grow in England. So don't plant any shamrocks in England. They won't grow. Why? I don't know. Maybe they use Italian to give them the maloik. I don't know. Whatever. But it don't work. So it don't grow. I'm sorry. But it is a legendary thing. And then there's another little story here about why they called Irish patties, P-A-D-D-Y or so, And they said maybe because St. Patrick's, a lot of Irish are called Patrick, after St. Patrick, which is good. I guess a lot of them like Anthony, St. Anthony,
Right.
So,
right.
it's good to, I'm named after Francesco. So is there St. Frank?
Francis.
St. Francis.
Yeah.
Where am I going? Well, I didn't bring any sheep or any birds with me. But I have to tell you something now, Monsignor. Years ago, they used to block off Marshall Street between DeKalb and Arch Street for sledding when it snowed.
Right.
And the police would block, put barricades there, and everybody that had sleds would go there. And so there's some sleds that only hold maybe 2 passengers, and some would hold maybe 3 or 4, But there was one wise guy, and he had no sled, but he used to wait, and we used to push. And then he would jump on, when we pushed down the hill, he would jump on, right? Well, he jumped on mine one time, then he jumped one time on yours, He was just being a wise guy.
Yeah.
And me, I never lost a fight in the dressing room. I saw something wrong, see something wrong. So you were getting on there, and I think you had somebody else was pushing the sled, you're on, the guy was pushing. In the meantime, the guy was pushing. He pushed this guy away, and he pushed and jumped on, and he took right, and I got him, and I started fighting. I started beating him up. I didn't even know you, but then after you come back up, I said, that guy's not going to get on your sled no more. But how about that? All these years, I had to tell you that story.
Yeah, right in front of Yekel's. Dr. Yekel used to live there.
Right.
And then he moved up the street next to the YWC. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right, and then, Chief Riley, then before Chief Riley was Chief Buzzwine, and then Chief Buzzwine, he was a big guy with a big mustache, and he was a former Philadelphia police officer. But St. Patrick's Church, let's talk about that. That's one of the most beautiful churches.
Well, formerly it was down on Lafayette Street,
Yeah, that's
and
right.
and the Pennsylvania Railroad came through there. They needed that ground to
right there where on Lafayette and
yes, and
Lafayette and Swede.
That's how the people got the money to move it up to DeKalb Street.
Railroad bought it, give them the money.
Yes, and I think the cornerstone is 1905. Can you imagine
so.
that?
Yeah.
That church was built in 1905, and it's the most beautiful church.
Yeah. You know, I had, last year, I had Monsignor San Germano, and Father Murphy couldn't make it, so he spoke both for St. Patrick's and St. Joseph. And he told the people, and people don't realize, but he said, and it stuck with me, that I formerly went to St. Patrick's and the Holy Savior. And he was saying how beautiful that statue out front of St. Patrick's. Now, so people go through Norristown, stop and take a look at that beautiful statue of St. Patrick's, you know.
Right.
I don't know, I think, tell Father Murphy you ought to put some green lights on there, you know, for, but it's beautiful, you know. So, all right, now what's the legend now that they don't know what nationality St. Patrick's was?
No.
What's the scoop on that?
Well, they say he was French or Italian. And they don't know really what he was.
They don't know what?
No.
Well, it's just a mystery.
Yes.
Better off not knowing that he was a good man and he did his job. But basically, why? Let's talk about Ireland. Were you ever in Ireland?
Twice.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
What stands out mostly?
Well, when you land at Shannon Airport, you can't help notice the green. The fields are so green and attractive that you're just drawn to it. And if you ever go to Galway, that's beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The Aran Islands are off Galway. That's where they make the Irish sweaters. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's famous for that part. But I was in Dublin, and Dublin has Trinity College, which goes back to the 1600s, and they have the Book of Scriptures, which is called the Book of Kells, which is the monks illuminate. They had that illuminating writing, you know, and they would do that for all the scriptures, and that book is still in the College of Trinity.
Over there, yeah. I was watching the TV the other day about different colleges in Ireland, and I can't think of the name of it, but beautiful, big buildings. But most of the buildings were square, like big, square, a lot of windows. I guess that was the architects years ago. That was what. But the beautiful churches, right? I know when I went to Italy, I've been there 2 times, and it's some beautiful churches. Like some of the churches don't look like outside; they're just ordinary. But when you go inside, the beautiful statues and the paintings and stuff, it's really.
Were you in St. Paul's outside the walls?
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
no, that's
yes,
beautiful.
yes.
See?
But I think that most of the churches years ago didn't have pews, didn't have seats.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, some of them. Yes.
Right. Well.
Well, I just because that's the custom, not to kneel down or not to sit down, you know.
Oh.
And they stood for it, but they sang, they participated in the mass.
Standing, yeah.
Yes.
And I remember, I know the one church. Well, I remember when I used to go to St. Patrick's Church years ago. The place was packed, and it was packed. And outside, they were waiting outside, and I was doing traffic at Lafayette, DeKalb and Erie Street, right in front of City Hall. And that's First Presbyterian Church on the corner there.
Oh, yeah.
And there was his friends I would direct in traffic. How you doing, And so this one guy, he was Presbyterian, comes over and says, boy, says, look at that crowd over there in St. Patrick's Church. Says, boy, what we could do with a crowd like that, which means, to have that many, because at that time, I guess they didn't have that many parishioners,
right.
But I remember, and then, who was it? McCarran was there, and then Father Moores.
Right.
Right, and I remember about 4 or 5 that were there.
You don't remember Father Fahey?
Fagan?
Fahey.
No.
He, well, he had 3 homilies, and he used to alternate them. And the 2 were daylight saving time, which he hated.
Yeah.
The prohibition, which he hated, and the souls in purgatory, which he loved. And one time he was talking, and an Italian woman came in, and there used to be a statue of St. Anthony on the left,
Right.
And he was talking, and she walked up and she had hobnail shoes on, and he stopped and waited for her to come up, and then she threw a kiss at St. Anthony, and he got so infuriated that he walked out of the pulpit. Man.
Oh, no.
But he was a character, Father
no.
Fay. Oh, that was years ago.
He was, what year, what, was
Wow.
he before or after?
Oh, he was
Before McCarran?
Oh, sure. When
Oh, well then, yeah.
McCarran succeeded him.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I guess, I remember, because we used to, I lived at 29 East Chestnut, and then on my whole block there, the Burns family.
Oh, yeah.
B-Y-R-E-N, the
Yeah.
whole family, Liquor Burns, Boxer Burns, and
Juice.
And then we used to go there, we used to go to church, and then we used to have white knickers, you know. And then after we'd stop over there, and then we'd play cards, and then we'd shoot crap, kneel down shooting crap, and I'd come home with my knees were all there. But,
Remember
I'll tell you, growing up in Norristown was just, I love it, you know. There's the
Yeah.
YMCA, you had the Norris Firehouse, and then they used to block
had block
it off
parties.
and have a block party there,
Yeah.
right?
The Lockermeyers who lived next to me were
Right.
They were influential
Right,
in the Norristown.
And Dunbar too. Wasn't
Oh,
it
yeah.
Dunbar on
They had
the
a
corner.
store, yeah.
Yeah, that was, and then the baseball team was the Greenway
Right.
baseball team. It was Mooch Riley, and what was the other brother's name? One of them worked at the courthouse with me later. But St. Patrick's Day. Now, what are you going to do for St. Patrick's Day?
Well, you know, I'm almost 90 years old, so I'm not.
How old are you now? So I'm allowed to ask you that?
I'll be 89 in August.
Oh, 89.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm 86, so you're.
Yeah.
I'm your.
So I'm not going to do much on St. Patrick's Day.
Well,
you
let
know.
me see. Well, you won't do the Irish jig, right?
No,
You
those
won't
days
do
are
that.
over. Yeah.
And but Father McGreedy, he has a little dinner or something.
Oh, yes.
What's your tradition food? What are you going to mind you? You know, on Columbus Day, I'm going to eat spaghetti. What are you going to eat St. Patrick's Day?
Oh, I don't know. We have a chef. I don't know. So what is going to be served that day? So.
Well, I like cabbage. What's the favorite
Oh no,
meal?
I don't like cabbage.
No, cabbage, ham and cabbage.
No.
How about potato soup? Is that a traditional thing? Because I go to this Greco-Roman restaurant. It's a Greek Italian restaurant, and so I told him I had some ham and cabbage for Wednesday, and also potato soup. I think that's traditional. You know, I don't know what else. You know, I put it on the menu for that day.
No, we don't have anything special.
Nothing
really.
special.
No.
Right. All right. All right. Now, St. Patrick. Let's get back to him. He is. You say we don't really know. Other than he was kidnapped. I guess that was like years ago. Kidnapping was a big thing.
Oh,
you know?
sure. That people needed slaves, you know.
Yeah.
And,
They just kidnapped people. You know?
Yes.
And what was it? And talking about kidnapping, the Limburg case.
Yes.
As a result of the Limburg case, it became a federal crime.
Right.
Say years ago, they were kidnapping
yeah.
left and right until they made it a federal crime, and then it stopped it. But that didn't have anything to do with that. With that, you know.
No.
Now, when you were in the seminary, tell me something about your days in your seminary.
Well, I entered in September of 1940.
1940.
And I was ordained in 1948, and we had the ordinary college curriculum, and then we had 4 years of theology. And we lived, at that time, there was quite a response to vocation. So
Yeah.
we lived in a big dormitory when we first entered, and we used to say that we had semi-private conditions. We had 30 on this side
30
and
on
30
that
on
side.
the other side. So, but the life was very disciplined. You got up at 5 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
and you went to mass, and then you went to breakfast, and then you had classes up.
And you couldn't talk in the halls? Was that a...
Well, yeah, we didn't talk in the corridors, no, but we had recreation rooms downstairs.
But things are a little different
Oh
now.
yeah, oh, it's altogether different. I was vice rector of the seminary at one time for 11 years.
Yeah, that's where you were, what do they call that? What was that title?
Vice rector.
Okay.
And I was there from 61 to 72. And that, all those things that happened between those years, like
Right.
we had the Vietnam War, we had
Yeah.
assassination of Kennedy, we had the Vatican Council,
Right.
and that all causes disturbance.
Did one of the popes visit?
Oh, yeah, we
you
had.
Were, you were there. The Pope visit, was it Pope Paul?
No, it was like, oh, he was there.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
He was there on his way to Chenstohova in Doylestown.
Okay, yeah,
And-
right.
And the Cardinal Kroll made arrangements to take a helicopter from the grounds in the seminary
Right.
up to Doylestown. And he was staying with Cardinal Kroll at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I happened to concelebrate Mass with
the Pope.
With the Pope twice. And he,
What an honor, huh?
Yes.
Right. Well, you know what? The half hour's over. And
Nice to meet you. Thanks
here,
for inviting me.
let's have a little toast to St.
All right.
Patrick's.
See you.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, ladies and gentlemen. Monsignor Harry Degnan, Norristown.
Thanks,
Great.
Cisco, Norristown.
I'm going to talk to Stan Huss. Got to do a story about you, about Norristown, about Monsignor Degnan. And I have a little token of appreciation. You're taking it's green, too. And it's here, and it says here, where is it? Get it over there. It says here, thanks for being a guest on the Hank Cisco Show, Comcast 28, Verizon 45. Station 28, Comcast 45, Verizon. Monsignor, grazie, God bless you, and keep bobbing and weaving. St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Hey,
Listen.
thank you.
When Irish eyes are smiling, sure it's like a
And Irish eyes are
smiling. Happy.
all the world seems bright and gay, but when Irish eyes
Start smiling, sure would steer your heart away. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Keep bobbing and weaving. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you. Okay, stand right there.